Will the economy go into recession in 2022? I'm Dr. Bill Connerly. I connect the dots between the economy and business. Today we'll talk about the risk of a recession in 2022 based upon spending in the economy, based upon the supply chain problems. We're going to conclude that probably not in 2022, but there's a greater risk in the later years of 2023, 24, and 25. Most recessions are caused by lack of spending, so it's a demand side problem rather than a supply side problem most of the time. And right now we're in pretty good shape. The government's transfer payments, the stimulus checks, the bonus unemployment insurance, the child care tax credits have added to consumers' bank accounts. And you can see this chart, the current position is lower than it had been in those spikes, but it's still pretty good relative to the trend that we had before all of this happened. Take the data from 2019 on, project a straight trend line, and we're there or a little bit above. And those peaks represent cash, and people use that cash not so much to spend, but to put into savings, either in their checking account or their savings account, and to pay down their credit card. So consumers are in a much better position than they have been in quite a while to go into stores and shop. Businesses also want to spend money. Companies are buying computers, machinery, equipment. They're trying to make their existing employees more productive, and they're also facing the fact that they are unable to hire as many people as they'd like. So robots, instead of taking jobs, will take the unfilled positions that businesses have. So companies are going to be spending, and they've got money from their PPP loans as well as benefiting from cheap interest rates. So that's the C and the I, or part of the I of C plus I plus G, you college students may remember. The other part of investment spending is construction. Residential construction will only increase a little bit. Home builders would like to build more, but they're limited by buildable lots, labor, and materials. Non-residential construction will probably start edging up, but those are long lead time projects, so the recent stimulus will not affect them very much. Then on the G side, government spending, whatever happens in Washington, D.C. with the budget reconciliation bill and the infrastructure bill is going to be a lot of money. And much of that money has filtered down already to state and local governments. Their own tax revenues are high, plus they've gotten federal stimulus money, so government will be spending money. The last part of total spending is spending on export, is money we receive by exporting goods, and that will be up a little bit, not hugely. But you roll it all together and we're in pretty good shape on the spending side of the economy. But with all of the supply shortages, we have to ask, what about the supply side? We've seen already some car factories shut down, mostly temporarily, but some of them are longer-term shutdowns because they cannot get the parts that they need, especially components that have computer chips. And that affects not only the people at the car factory, but also the paint factory that the folks in the car factory will use to paint the cars, the glass factory that makes the windshields, the rubber factories that make the tires. So there's a broader impact. But right now, what we're seeing mostly is the limitation on growth. It's not so much that we are in worse shape than we had been, but we're not able to grow as much. So I pulled out data on inbound containers at the largest port, which are the neighboring ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, California, where I learned to sail, near the port of Long Beach back when I was 7 years old. And look at where we were in 2019. We're above that now. So you wonder, why are ships anchored, unable to get to the port? There is a snarl there, but the throughput, and this is data through September of 2021, the throughput has been strong, but we're trying to import more. We're trying to buy more, and that's because of all that stimulus money that we have. So this is a good point for some Christmas shopping advice. Businesses have adjusted to the supply chain shortage by offering a narrower selection. So if you want a button-down shirt, 1632, you'll be able to find them. Will you find this really cool red stripe collar? Maybe not, but you can find blue, white, maybe yellow, maybe blue stripes, but the wide variety of selection that you would have seen in past years, you probably won't see it. Salsa, you can find half a dozen different kinds of salsa, but there are over 100 different kinds of salsa made. You won't be able to take your pick. That will discourage a few people from purchases where they really want that one special thing, but for most of us, we'll be able to buy. So as a result, I do not see the supply chain problems causing a recession. But one of the other kind of supply-related potential risks is from the vaccine mandate. So the Biden administration has a variety of mandates. There's one for federal government contractors. There's one for healthcare system that uses Medicare or Medicaid. The biggest one will affect employers with over 100 workers through an OSHA regulation that will soon be promulgated. And the White House says this will affect about 100 million people. Now, we know about 31% of workers are not vaccinated. So I went into my wastebasket, found an envelope, and thank you to the company that sent me a check, and did the math. And we have about 31 million workers at risk of losing their jobs because of the vaccine mandate. I think a few of them are going to get vaccinated, but not everybody. So I'm going to make a political forecast here. This is not my specialty. I'm an economist, but I believe that the Biden administration will walk back on the mandates before they see millions upon millions of people lose their jobs. For context, when we were in the deepest slide of the last recession, we lost a total of 22 million workers. We have 31 million at risk. I think the Biden administration will not let that happen. So I feel very good about the prospects for 2022. But we have a lot of stimulus in the economy. We've talked about all the spending potential. We don't have that much production capacity. So we're getting inflation. Some of it will be transitory, but some of it will be long lasting, and the Federal Reserve is going to have to tighten. That is not necessarily recessionary. The Federal Reserve can tighten without causing a recession if they do it at exactly the right time and in exactly the right amount, and then they finish their tightening at exactly the right time. Could it happen? Yeah, theoretically it's possible. Will it happen? I believe not. The Fed has a bias towards running the economy hot and being slow to tighten right now. So even if they started tightening in 2022, and that may be a little bit early, it takes 12 to 24 months for them to have an effect on the economy. The big risk then is 23, 24, 25. And the longer we go waiting for the Federal Reserve to tighten, the worse the recession is going to be. So let me leave you with some business advice. Enjoy 2022. I think it's going to be a good year for business, but use the good times to prepare for the difficult times. Develop your recession contingency plan. I'm Dr. Bill Connerly. I connect the dots between the economy and business, and I put out a newsletter every month. You can text the word econ to 42828, and I'd be happy to share that newsletter with you every month. Thanks for watching. And you can subscribe to this. Hit the button. I think it's somewhere down underneath the globe. Big, bright red button. You can't miss it.